Hi guys, and welcome to part 11 of Skyrim Mod Sanctuary. Now I'm currently doing a thief assassin type playthrough, and so I spend a lot of my time playing in darkness, in dark nights or in the dark of dungeons, etc. So I'm especially interested in anything that makes the game darker, more sinister, and a little bit more scary. But before we get started on that topic, I want to just discuss another mod that is very popular, and most of you've probably already heard about it, and that is the realistic water textures mod. Now I play Skyrim on Ultra, and everything looks pretty good, and generally I don't actually notice the water, but when you actually look at it closely, it doesn't quite look right. It's a little low quality, but also it seems to move in a way that doesn't feel quite like water. It looks to me a little thick, as if it was sort of, I don't know, dribble from a dog or a baby or something. I don't know, there's something about it that just doesn't quite work for me. So the realistic water textures mod, for me now, is an essential mod. I mean, you can see the difference. Now there are three versions of this mod: medium, high and ultra. I'm using high in all of these shots. Obviously ultra is slightly better quality, although I didn't notice that much difference on my resolution, which is 1920 by 1080. Obviously the ultra is more demanding of your system and will come with a slightly larger performance hit. And installation is very easy indeed. Just click download with manager if you're using the Nexus mod manager and just activate the mod. Dead simple. So we're going to move on now to the theme of this video, which is darkness. Now those of you who've seen some of my earlier videos probably know I'm a big fan of the Skyrim enhanced shaders mod. Not only does it make the game look more beautiful, it also makes the nights a lot darker. The vanilla game's nights are a little too bright for me, so I really like a bit more dark, a bit more sinister. However, the Skyrim enhanced shaders mod does come with a bit of a performance hit, and if that is something you can't live with, there is now an alternative, and the alternative is the realistic lighting without post-processing mod. Now during the day this mod makes the light look a lot crisper and cleaner. It seems to enhance the blue, especially in the sky. The sky looks a lot more brilliant colour of blue. And to me that looks a lot more realistic. I mean, I live in a Nordic country, and to me that's how the sky would look if it was a sunny day. It also makes the snow very white, and if the sun is shining right on it, it becomes almost blinding. It's a matter of personal taste. I actually really like it, but if you don't, there are optional textures to dull that down a little bit. And in general, it's just an overall enhancement of the way the game looks. Now, one of the questions I'm bound to get asked is, can you use this mod with the Skyrim enhanced shaders or the FXAA post-process injector? And the answer is yes, you can. But with the enhanced shaders mod, for example, you'll find the daytimes look incredible. I mean, they really do look amazing, as you can see. But during the nighttime, it's a little too dark. Because both mods are making it darker, it's just a little too much. Hopefully at some point one of these mods will have the option to not make the game darker, and you'll be able to run them both, which will be incredible, because I think the two of them together, at least during the daytime, looks amazing. But let's talk about night times now. Now the vanilla game for me is way too bright. I don't know if it's my graphics cards or my settings, but my visibility is pretty much unchanged during the night in the vanilla game. I can see almost as far as during the day. I have no trouble picking out enemies. As you see, a couple of wolves run across the path. Very easy to see. And I want night times to be something, well, something to be afraid of. I want them to be dark and scary. And this mod does that indeed. Even with the starlight out now, as you can see, visibility is massively reduced. I can see something large running across the path. I think it's a moose. I can see the path. I can see the trees. But I can't see much in the distance. Visibility is massively reduced, and it makes finding enemies very difficult. If they don't move or come close, you can't see them. I mean, where are those wolves, for example? Now I love this. I mean, it makes playing at night a lot more intense. But there is a problem. And the problem is the light levels don't affect the enemies. They don't affect them in the slightest. They can see you just as well as they could see before, and they can aim just as well as they could before. This makes it a little difficult. If you do get detected, you can't see them. They could be 100 meters away shooting you with arrows, and you can't even see them to shoot them back. Now, I'm not totally sure there's any way to fix that until the creation kit comes out, because basically what it's going to require is certain game settings to be altered so that in the dark you are a lot harder to see, and all NPCs get a reduced ability to shoot things, apart from those that can see in the dark. But we're going to have to wait for that to get fixed, I'm afraid. But the mod authors actually added a brighter nights version of the mod. So you still get the same daytime feeling, but the nights are brighter. However, I can tell you, they're still darker than the vanilla game. It's dark enough to be slightly atmospheric and to be a little scary. It's a little harder to spot enemies than in vanilla. You will see the wolves run across the path any second now. Oh, there they are. You couldn't see them until they moved, though. And they are a little harder to spot, but you can still spot them. It's not perfect, because I do like the very, very dark nights, but really until the creation kit comes out and the AI can be manipulated a little better, I think this is probably the better option. But it definitely improves the night times, as you can see running through Rivervale, even though you can see quite clearly with the lights around, and there's a nice bright sky lighting things up. It's still noticeably nighttime. As you look at the mountains in the distance, you can't see anything on those mountains, whereas with the vanilla game you can literally see the mountains quite clearly. So this is, for me, this adds a lot of atmosphere to the game, and I think it makes the game just look generally so much more beautiful at night time. I mean, nights should be dark, they should be mysterious. This mod also changes interior lighting. As you can see, the vanilla game's lighting is not that realistic. It looks a bit artificial. But with this mod, the lights actually look more like they're coming from light sources such as fireplaces, candles, torches, etc. It makes the shadows far more noticeable, far more intense, and overall just gives it a lot more realistic feeling. Now, for some people this may be a little too dark, perhaps a little broody and almost miserable. It's a matter of personal taste, but don't worry, this is actually optional. And you can also turn it off for normal interiors but leave it on for dungeons, which is great because leaving this effect on in dungeons is incredible. It makes them really, really dark and really intimidating. But it isn't just about how it looks and feels, it actually changes the way you play the game. There are places that are so dark you will need a torch. I mean, you've just got to have it to be able to see into those corners because there's just no light. So you end up using just about every trick and tool you have to figure out where your opponents are so you don't stumble onto them. So for example, now I'm using the night vision spell that I introduced in a previous video. You'll end up using the shout that gives you detect life all the time. It makes the stealth experience far more intense and a lot more fun, actually. It also makes traps a lot more dangerous because, of course, if they put them in dark areas, you just don't see them, which is a lot more realistic because if you were going to set a tripwire trap, you'd set it up in such a way that it was difficult to see. And so you just end up being so much more careful. You end up feeling like you're adventuring rather than just running through a dungeon killing things. It's absolutely brilliant. And when you accidentally turn your torch on and something's looking at you, you have to go running away quickly and hope it doesn't find you. As you can see, this sneaking is no longer easy. I'm also playing without the sneak indicator. I'm using my own mod Immersive HUD in case you're wondering why I don't have a sneak meter. So just in general, even as a master thief, even with 100 sneak and with every perk in stealth and loads of stealth gear, I still have to try hard, which is brilliant. But there is still a small downside with this. For example, the NPCs and creatures don't respond to this darkness. So for example, you'll find people stood in pitch black looking at a table as if they're reading something when there's absolutely no light. Plus you'll also notice this guy just does not respond to my torch because he's not looking directly at it, and for some reason he's unaware of the light bouncing off the walls around him. But that is not this mod's fault. That's a flaw in the engine, in that they only see light sources that they are looking at. They don't see light when it illuminates walls behind them. So, and you don't notice that bug when you play vanilla because there's so much ambient light. But with this mod, you notice it straight away. I think we're going to need someone to create a better stealth experience mod. But until then, I'm afraid that's something we just have to put up with. Now, if you don't want to pick which options you're going to use, you can just use the download with manager button and let Nexus Mod Manager do the rest. But if you want to have a bit more control over it, as I do, you can download manually. And once it's downloaded, extract the entire directory somewhere, wherever you feel comfortable, and open that directory up. You're also going to need your data folder, your Skyrim data folder. Now, there is a README, a HTML-based README, and I do suggest you read it thoroughly. It's quite detailed, very easy to follow, and it won't take you very long either. But here is what I am going to be doing. I'm going to go into the optional files, and I want to pick certain options. Now, the default options are actually exterior, interior buildings, interior dungeons, and I believe lights. I think those are the 4 basic options, but if you're going to use those, you might as well just do the one single file. But I want to have the brighter nights version, so you pick the exterior brighter nights instead of the exterior. You only pick one of these. I want the interior buildings as well. And I want the interior dungeons. But if, for example, you only want the interior dungeons, but you don't want the buildings to have the new light, don't pick this one. And you also need the lights ESP. This gives the lights a far greater radius, which you're going to need with the ambient light reduced. There are some other options, options that give shadows. The S option gives shadows to spells, I believe, to magical lights, and the B stands for brighter lights, but apparently that can have some effects, undesirable effects in certain cities. I haven't tried it, I have tried it and I haven't seen any bad effects, but I'm quite happy with the normal lights. But you need to pick one of these 4 files, just one of the lights files. So that's it. 4 files I'm going to copy directly into my data folder. I can then close. Oh, and I'm going to leave that open for a second. I'll show you why. But I'm going to open my Nexus Mod Manager. And now that these 4 files are in my data folder, make sure that they are selected and checked. Make sure they're checked here. And that's it. It's installed. Now, for the texture replacements, there are 2 folders. There's one for the sky, which apparently gives smoother overcast clouds and darker clouds in general, and adds a custom sun glare. That's if you want to add those. I'm already using some custom sun glares, so I'm probably not going to use those, but you can use those if you like. And there is also landscape textures, and they are actually the snow textures. They're fairly high quality, 1000 by 1000, and they are duller, so that when the sun is very bright, you won't be quite as blinded by the snow. And it's pretty easy to install those. If you go along to the textures folder in the file you downloaded, and in your own data folder, the game's data folder, open up textures and just copy the landscape folder, for example. That now copies the alternative snow textures. And the same for the sky if you want the sun glare. As I said, I'm not going to use that. And that's it. Now do remember though, because you've installed this manually and you've copied these textures manually, not using the mod manager, if you delete this mod, you have to find these textures, these 5 textures. It might be an idea if you're going to do that to actually make a FOMod installer if you know how to do that just for these files. But I may cover how to do things like that in another video. But for now, I'm going to leave that up to you. But if you want to see the difference, here is the unaltered snow, and here is with the slightly duller replacement snow. As you can see, it's still very white and very bright. It's just not quite as blinding as the default one. So it's up to you, and it's a matter of personal preference. And that's it for this video. I hope it was useful, and of course I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, please click the like button. I always appreciate that. Now, I already have a couple of great little mods picked out for the next video, so I hope you guys can join me for that one. And until then, have fun.